So you're thinking about moving from one coast to the next, perhaps East Coast to West Coast? I did it. Stay tuned as I share with you guys how I moved from New York City to San Diego. But before we get into it, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe right below. Just go do it right now because you know you're going to forget. So the first time I visited San Diego was back in 2010. It was the year that I graduated from college, and I was visiting with my then boyfriend, now husband. I visited San Diego and instantly fell in love with its Southern California charm. The weather, the beach, the waves, the people, the culture, the food, like everything about San Diego. And from that point on, I knew that I had to move there. It took us some time to finally get up the guts and the courage to do it. My son was starting kindergarten, and we thought it would be the perfect time to move so that he wouldn't have to transition from a school life in New York to California. So in August of 2016, we packed up all of our things, shipped it, and drove cross country from New York to San Diego. So a little bit about our actual journey across country, just in case if you guys are thinking about like that's the way you want to do it. We drove, as I mentioned, and it took us 5 days. We drove. Our first night we spent it in Illinois, and then we drove again, and then we ended up in Colorado where we spent 2 nights with my dad, and then we spent 1 night in Utah, and then we ended up in California. Let's talk about food. It's important to all of us, and you don't want to move someplace where the food is struggling, right? If you're really into Mexican food, you're gonna love it here. I love the Mexican food here. If you guys ever come to San Diego, check out Taco El Gordo, the taco shop. Those are like hands down my 2 favorite places. Mexico is literally like a stone throw away. So all of the Mexican food here is super authentic. I've had Mexican food in New York and it's not where it's at, okay? Come to San Diego and get you some good Mexican food. I do think that it's lacking in other cuisines. So, of course, I'm Guyanese, I'm Caribbean. I love Caribbean food, and there isn't really much of it here. So that's the con. I think that just goes back again to culture and diversity. I have found a Caribbean restaurant that I really like here. It's called Caribbean Taste. It's Jamaican, and I go there all the time to get myself my oxtail fill and whatnot. But aside from that, there isn't really any Caribbean food. I think that the food scene is growing here though, and you're getting a lot more, 5-star restaurants. But I mean, coming from New York, you're not gonna get that much out of me, okay? Like, I know people here say all the time, like, oh my gosh, the food is so amazing, check out this place. And then I'll go and I'll be like, this ain't it. It just depends on what you like, I guess. If you're into Mexican food, it's an awesome place to be. It is definitely a growing food scene, but it just hasn't reached its full potential yet. Another plus about San Diego, I love me some Disneyland. And girl, Disneyland is in my backyard. It takes me like an hour to an hour and 15 to drive to Disneyland, and I love that. There's so much. I think this just goes back to the quality of life that I was telling you guys about. There's so much to do here for your kids. I mean, we go to Disneyland, we go to SeaWorld, we have like the world-renowned San Diego Zoo, we go to the beaches all the time, we go to the mountains, we go to the desert. It's just so much to do here and so much to see. So I think that you can live a really like fun, eventful, sunny, happy life here. A lot of days when I wake up and the sun is shining so bright, I'm like, dag, I don't want to go to work. But then I remind myself, tomorrow's gonna be just as sunny, and that's such a great feeling to have. It's really a great place to be. And I think if you are thinking about moving to San Diego, I would go for it. I think you would love it. I think your family would love it. And yeah, it's definitely worth a try. I don't see myself moving from here. It's where I'd like to like grow old and continue to enjoy the sunshine. So this is a big one. Let's talk about cost of living. So for me, moving from New York to San Diego, there isn't really that much great of a difference in cost of living. I would say the biggest change would be my car, as I had to buy a car here. So now I have a car payment, I have an insurance payment, and I buy gas, right? So those are additional expenses. Whereas in New York, your girl got a Metro card for $120. In the comments below, guys, how much is a Metro card now? Just wondering. That food is pretty much similar. I lived in Queens, and I think the rent was cheaper in Queens than in San Diego, but of course the rent in Manhattan is more than it is in San Diego. Now, if you're moving from Middle America or like the South, you're moving from Georgia or I don't know, Iowa or one of those states, you're gonna be like, damn, it's expensive here. I know when I go to Georgia, I always constantly like take pictures of like the gas and stuff, because I'll be riding through southern towns and it'll be like $2.90 per gallon, and then here it's like $4.12 per gallon, you know? So definitely a major shift in cost of living if you're going to be moving from one of those middle America southern states. Next up, will it be easy to make friends here? You know, we're not in school anymore, which is usually where we made like the bulk of our friends, right? Lucky for me, I do work for Louis Vuitton, and so I'm in a store all the time and I'm constantly meeting new people all day. And I've definitely made like one or two of my good friends at the store. So that's a plus for me. I think if you're a social person, San Diego's got a really nice social scene. Downtown San Diego, there are lots of clubs and bars and restaurants and things like that. There are the museums, the parks, there are a lot of exercise groups and meetups and things like that. So if you're willing to get out there, you definitely can meet more people. My first friend that I made here, I was looking for a group for my son because, as I said, I didn't think that it was quite diverse here, and I wanted him to see some little boys like himself. So I signed him up for a group with moms who had Black sons, and that's how I met my first friend here, like 2 weeks after I moved here, and 4 years later we're still really, really good friends. So I think it's just all about putting yourself out there wherever it is that you go. Oh wait, have you like, commented, and subscribed yet? Go ahead, it's waiting, it's right there. Con I would say about living in San Diego is the job market. Lucky for me, I was able to move with Louis Vuitton from New York to San Diego, and that's one of the reasons I got with the company in the first place, besides that I was like obsessed with it. But I knew that it's a global brand, and no matter where I wanted to go, I would be able to do so. So moving to San Diego was really easy for me, but I found that with a lot of people, moving here isn't always so easy if you're in regards to getting a job. So if you're not in like the tech industry or you're not an engineer, it's gonna be hard for you to find a job in San Diego, because nothing much is happening. So that's definitely something to think about if you want to relocate out here. The lack of diversity and the lack of culture, nothing beats New York City culture. You know, it's a melting pot of so many different kinds of people and ethnicities, whereas in California, it's pretty much, in San Diego, you're either like Mexican, white, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with those, of course, but it just doesn't have as much diversity as I was used to in New York. And that's something that I ran into a problem with for my son as well, because obviously at his school, he's not equally represented. So I constantly have to find ways to remind him that he is a strong, beautiful, powerful, confident, young Black man, you know? And I feel as though if we were in New York, we wouldn't really have to go through that as much as we do here. Because, you know, it's hard on the little Black child when you go to a school where nobody else looks like you. And so sometimes you're like, I want to look like them, you know? So those are some of the things that we're dealing with right now, the cons, the lack of culture and diversity. Another con, which is a plus as well, is that people here are really laid back. So I found myself just having to dial it in, just little things like, you know, in New York, when you're going up the escalator, you run up the escalator and you get it over because you got places to be, got people to see. Here, everybody's just super chill. They just stand there. They'll stand in the middle, and I'm always like tapping my feet. And then I just had to tell myself, you know, like, you're a part of their culture now. You need to assimilate and get with it. So now I'm a lot better about that. So I wanted to share this fun fact with you guys. Before I moved to San Diego, I did not have a driver's license. In fact, I didn't even know how to drive. I'd never had a permit before. Growing up in New York City, you know, you hop on the subway or you hop in an Uber, and that's kind of what it is. So I definitely wasn't going to take on the cost of a car and all that stuff there. So once I moved here, I instantly, you know, did the little permit test and got my license and all that. But I got my license at the age of 29. And I never thought that I would get it. So, you know, I'm thankful that I moved here and it gave me the push that I needed. Thank you guys for stopping by my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.